It is without a doubt or a call for oratory that Nigeria's economy is on fast free fall. As such, any further policy that will bite harder the lives of Nigerians will not be accepted. The carbonated soft drinks and subsector of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, M.A.N, has rejected the proposed 20% tax increase on an already 10% tax per litre on non-alcoholic drinks. According to M.A.N, the proposed tax will kill the carbonated soft drink subsector. In a counter-argument, the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed says the policy is to discourage excessive consumption of sugar in beverages, which contributes to diabetes, obesity, as well as increase in revenue generation. Meanwhile, the financial experts are predicting an additional decline in revenue to minus 25% by December 2022 if the policy is not reviewed. Jide, let's look at the argument put up by the federal government now. They are looking for what is not going to help our health in any way, so to discourage it. They decided
they like
if you like
so much.
sugar, those things you like, that okay, it's not good for your health. We're going to discourage you from taking it by, increasing the tax on it.
I was reading somewhere that Nigeria ranks 4th in the consumption of soft drinks in the world. We are number 4 in the world when it comes to consumption of soft drinks. Yes. Although our population plays a part in in all of these numbers. There's no way
you can compare us to Britain now.
There's no way
or
you
South
have
Africa,
this kind of huge population.
Or Ghana or Togo. Yes.
That definitely when it comes to this kind of surveys, you just see that Nigeria is up there because our population alone, So the government needs the money that all the money that it can make, and they believe that if they can introduce that tax, that they are going to make more money. But every tax has consequences, because the more the producers of these carbonated drinks increase price, the lower their sales volume will go. There's no way, if you were able to, it's just, if this was being sold at 10 naira before, you suddenly jack the price up to 20 naira. You've already outstripped some people of the purchasing power for this.
Not everybody will be able to afford it.
Yes. So those who will not be able to afford it, they will go off it, they will snub it. That will affect what the producers earn at the end of the day. And the soft drink market, they said in 2016, they made 713 billion. The soft drink subsector of the
713 billion.
Yes, 713 billion dollars. I mean, $713.6 million in 2016. $713.6 million. Then it rose to $1.4 billion in 2021. And Nigerians consumed 1.6 billion liters of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Sprite, and Fanta in the same year, that year. So the volume of consumption rose to 1.6 billion liters. That's cumulatively Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Sprite, Biggie, Fanta, and the rest of them. So their own warning is that introducing duty will lead to a drop in sales. For a long time, you saw that they didn't want to increase price. What they did was to go and reduce the size of their bottles so that the people can still be able to afford it. You find that it's a matter I like to drink Coke. But if suddenly the price is beyond my capacity, then you will go off it. They wanted to avoid that. Instead of they now increase the size of the bottle so that you can still feed your hunger for Coke within your resources. So that's what they are saying. So out of the Nigerian manufacturing subsector, 38% of total manufacturing is the manufacture of carbonated drinks, like Coca-Cola, like the rest of them. So they also account for 22.5% of manufacturing jobs in our country. So if that sector is not doing well,
if anything, to what happens?
They generate 1.5 million jobs. So if something untoward happens in that sector, it will have a ripple effect on the entire manufacturing sector in our country. And that's why they are saying, look, you come up with this, you want to make money, but this will come at a heavy cost.
Okay, Wale, let's look at this industry. And when you look at the decline and when you look at what is happening, at the end of the day, if government, if they take this decision, this might lead to another round of inflation?
Well, I think this sector is one of the most important sectors, in our economy. M.A.N says it contributes about 15% to the GDP of the country, and with about 1.5 million direct and indirect workers linked to these companies. And if you go around the street corners, you see one person selling Coke. That's what he lives on.
You see women.
See children. You see even hawkers. That's what they rely on. Some of them are graduates, so doing holiday job. That's what they. So it's really going to affect a lot of, well, the argument of the government in terms of, diabetes and all that. I think the government should also be honest to admit that it wants to raise funds, which is legitimate. I'm not against, because knowing how much we pay to service debt, the government needs to be creative on how to raise more funds to finance the budget and all that. But my worry is that when you increase 10 naira per liter, and it comes like a shock, how are they going to, what is the kind of shock absorber that we, expect these companies to use to absorb this kind of a shock? Because in other countries, we'll have seen a kind of gradual increase. Maybe over a period of 6 months, there will have been a kind of discussion. Maybe we'll have started in January. And then you can start with 1 naira, 2 naira. Maybe by now we'll have even had that kind of 10 naira achieved. But when you just bring it once, I think the impact is going to be so great on the people. And this thing is also going to affect children. Because that's their most valuable. The best thing you can do for a child is to buy him a bottle of store drink. If you made his day. So that means that our children will be denied this kind of. So the consequences,
juices,
chocolate, and so the consequences may now may not find a situation where there will be more imported soft drinks, either smuggled directly or indirectly, and then there will be adulterated products. Bad people, businessmen will capture in on this to go and produce and sell at reduced because of weak institution that we have.
Okay, joining us now via Zoom to shed more light on this is a lawyer and a manager with PwC Nigeria, Emmanuel Akpeme. Thank you for joining us, Emmanuel. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon, Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, can you hear me? Okay, now our producers are trying to... Yes, Emmanuel can hear now.
Thank you for joining us, Emmanuel.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good
Thank you
afternoon,
so much for
Emmanuel.
having me. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you now. Help us make sense of this tax.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me, please?
You can so help us make sense of this tax that government has introduced and the impact it will have on the carbonated drink subsector.
Yes.
That the more important things, and that's more than because there will have been a kind of discussion. People will have started.
Okay, we are waiting for.
Hello, please, can you hear me,
connect
please?
with Emmanuel. So,
Emmanuel, we asked you a question. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, then the question is, help us make sense of this new tax that government has introduced and the kind of
30%
impact,
increase.
the kind of impact it will have on the carbonated drinks subsector of our manufacturing sector.
Okay, thank you very much, Abajide. So this particular excise duty that was introduced, it was by way of a background, right? It was introduced by the Finance Act 2021, and by virtue of Section 17 of that particular Finance Act, the excise duty on non-alcoholic, carbonated, and sweetened beverages was introduced. And from that particular provision, it imposes a 10 naira per liter excise duty on non-alcoholic, carbonated, and sweetened beverages. Now, this has been since the inception of the Finance Act 2021. However, there have been no sort of guidelines or regulations with respect to how that particular provision will be implemented. So that is why recently the Minister of Finance had to issue this current guideline, which is the excise duty, non-alcoholic, carbonated, and sweetened beverages regulations 2022. This particular regulation has a commencement date of 12 September 2022, and it's just about implementing that particular provisions of the Finance Act. Now, the truth of the matter is this: the federal government seeks to raise revenue for the country. If you look at the current budget for 2023, you see the deficit, the revenue deficit there. So these are just ways that the government wants to really vamp up or get its revenue for the forthcoming year. However, the issue is about its timing and also how it seeks to raise this particular revenue, and particularly on this particular excise duty. The government has come up to give us two reasons. And as we have also mentioned in the course of our discussion and conversation, it mentioned health reason to check diabetes and the likes, right? Health-related issues. Now, that is a form of sin tax. That is when a tax is imposed to discourage the citizens from participating or engaging in particular kind of behavior. For example, smoking, and in this case now, consumption of sweetened beverages. Now, the issue is, do Nigeria have a diabetic problem, a health issue? Or in another way, do we have a sugar issue? Because if you look at it from data, WHO has come up to say that on an average per annum, you are to consume 9.1 kilogram of sugar per annum. And from data, Nigeria has only a consumption rate of 8 kilogram per annum. This is less than the recommended consumption by the World Health Organization. If you compare this with some other jurisdictions like the UK, for example, has a 30 kilogram consumption per annum, and while the United States of America has about 46 kilogram consumption of sugar per annum. And if you look at it, that in a way makes it reasonable for them to have such excise duty on carbonated drinks and non-alcoholic or sweetened beverages. But in Nigeria, we are yet to even get to the average consumption by WHO, and we are giving it as the basis for taxing that particular product to reduce sugar. So I think there's a need to really make use of data when we are bringing some of this or make some of this justification. Another point I would want to mention is that in some of these advanced countries that have some of these sugar tax or excise duty on carbonated, sweetened beverages, the government provides and take care of their health care in those nations, in those countries. However, in Nigeria, you and I, we take care of absolutely everything that relates to our health care. And if you now impose this excise duty that we have an impact on the final consumer, if for any reason the consumer goes on to consume these products and is maybe plagued with obesity or diabetes, it is that same consumer that will spend his or her money to take care of his health. And this will amount to a form of double taxation, because even after paying the increased fee for increased price for the product, he is still taking care of his health. So I see that the issue of taking care of health is something that we need to really look at, because that's justification for introducing this may not fall under that. Now, the point is government want to raise revenue, and so I think we should concentrate on that.
Yes, okay.
However, is this the right time to raise this revenue? Is this the right way to do that? If you see the manufacturing sector, as you have also mentioned, play a key role in the gross domestic product of Nigeria. And if you look at the value chain, it plays so much, there are so many players, so many stakeholders in this value chain. And one of the things that has been plaguing them is the issue of infrastructural challenge, issue of power. We have issue of rising FX scarcity. We have issue of high inflation. We have issues of security issues. Now, this has made this particular sector to have, from data, it is shown that between 2021 and 2022, the profit margin of the manufacturing sector nosedived, right, with about 36% reduction in its profit margin. Now, this is a sector that is having these challenges, and introducing this excise duty may, in the long run, have a negative impact, just as the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has come out to say. Because even if there's an increase in the revenue that we'll get from this excise duty imposition,
all right,
collectively, there may be a negative revenue for the government. Because if you look at
thank you, Emmanuel Akwebe. Thank you for your intervention.
This particular
tax line services of
indexes might
Nigeria. Thank you, Emmanuel. We are out of time. Thank you for your intervention. So, Jude, you can't. Sometimes government will come out with this funny policy that is not backed by data. You can see the comparison between Nigeria and
America around 46%.
Yeah.
We are just around 8%, which is lower than the World Health Organization threshold.
And if you know the number of bitter things we love swallowing, not sugary things.
Yeah.
Because once you are of a certain age, you will start looking for all these bitter all around, because we know the health implication.
I am concerned about how government policies are making life unbearable for business people in our country. They are saying that if this policy, if this tax is sustained, it will lead to employee salary reduction. Companies will be forced to reduce salary because they won't earn as much as they used to earn. It will lead to retrenchment. It will lead to increase in prices of goods. You know, so taxes usually have unintended consequences. Before we left, before we allowed Akpeme to go, he was trying to explain that even the government will not earn as much as it
The
thinks
revenue
that
they are
it will
looking
earn.
for.
Yeah, because
Everything now is now driven by that revenue.
Counterproductive.
even tax itself thrives on earnings. If you don't earn so much, then it means you are going to pay so little by way of taxation. So government's intention may eventually not even be realized when the atmosphere becomes choked up and these companies are struggling. So many companies have already folded up
I'm
since
telling
the
you,
COVID
and
era.
some are contemplating. they
Yes,
want to
some
fold
are
up
still
at the end of the
contemplating
year.
folding up. Some can't
Because
have
when the
access,
book is not balanced.
no access to foreign exchange
What
to bring
are they
in
doing in business?
raw material. So some of them are folding up already. Now we are trying to create even more problems for the ones that are still there. So this will have a kind of ripple effect on so many stakeholders and even the ordinary Nigerian. Those people selling soft drink in traffic jams and the rest of the see those women, hardworking people in the sun selling soft drinks in traffic jams. Everyone will be affected at the end of the day.
You have to go. Wale Adoye, thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you today. Thank you for coming. And Okulora, that's my chief, the mouthpiece of the people.
Thanks.
In case those that didn't watch last week, that we are now Okulora.
Yes.
Yes, the mouthpiece of the people from Delta State.
Yes.
Babajide Otitoju. He's not a chief. Go to his page.
In
You will
fact-
find all.
in fact,
last week, some will not watch last week because we had a live transmission. We are off-com. But this week, I want to tell you,
That was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago,
Last week. 2 weeks ago.
how time flies.
The former governor of Imo State,
Okay,
our friend, the birthday boy,
okay.
Okorocha.
My people.
Yes, I think he just got to know that I got a chieftaincy title in the southeast. And he said, "You are the Kikero of Nigerian journalism. I'm so happy that you got this traditional title from the southeast." So maybe eventually
We get more.
they will add something else to it.
Yes, sir.
That Madam was not here.
Okay, I won't be part of that campaign.
We leave it there.
She's my friend.
We leave